Hello, everyone. Welcome to Textiles and Tea with the Handweavers Guild of America. Happy Giving Tuesday. If you've not heard that today's Giving Tuesday, we're excited to be part of that also. We want to thank everybody for being on here. We especially want to thank our sponsor. It's Elizabeth Michael. Thank you, Elizabeth. It was really nice of you to step up and be a sponsor for this episode. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A at the end of the session today. We'll take as many as we can. But don't put them in the Q&A, I mean in the chat, because I can't see them when they're there. So if you would, put them in the Q&A. We love your chats. Those are wonderful. But if you have a question, please put it in Q&A because I want to be able to get to it, or at least to as many as I can. Thank you. Today, I'm excited because we have Rebecca Smith. Now, Rebecca is originally from Massachusetts, but she now lives and works in San Diego since 1996. Following a series of workshops with tapestry master Archie Brennan, she has created some freestanding tapestries. Excuse me. She's combined freestanding tapestry with yarn and transparent seed beads. In 2018, Rebecca's interest shifted to transparency weaving. And her work, both tapestries and transparencies, has been included in juried exhibits. Some of these will look familiar to you. She's been in our exhibits throughout the country. She's also a member of the California Fibers. This is a great group out in California. You're juried in and of professional artists. She is a board member and active leader of the San Diego Creative Weavers Guild. Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
Hi, Kathy. I'm great today. How are you?
I'm so excited that you're here.
Me too. And I want to say right up front, I'm so grateful to Elizabeth Michael for offering to sponsor me for this episode. She is a fellow member of the San Diego Creative Weavers Guild. So I wanted to give her a shout out and thank her again.
What a great guild. You're lucky to be there. That's a wonderful guild.
Yeah, we like it.
I want to start with what is your favorite tea?
Well, right now I am drinking Tazo Organic Zen Tea. It is a
Ooh.
combination of green tea, lemongrass, and spearmint, and it is delicious.
Oh, it sounds refreshing.
Hmm.
And a great mug.
Thank you.
So how did you get started in fiber?
So this goes back to the mid 80s, and just a minor correction, I'm not originally from Massachusetts. I
Oh,
was
I'm
there
sorry.
working. I was teaching geography at the university there in Amherst, Massachusetts, Western Massachusetts, and I saw an ad for a weaving class at a little shop called Webb's. You may have heard of it. They were
Thank
quite
you,
small.
Webs, if you're listening. Thank you.
Yeah, they were quite small back then, but they grew rapidly. Anyway, I was hooked from the very first class. I'd been an academic up until then and always viewing life through the left side of my brain. And I think the class woke up the right side of my brain and it was like breathing fresh air. So, long story short, I left academia and the first thing I did was open a fiber art gallery on Cape Cod. That's another story in
Did you
itself.
really? Wow.
Oh, I was so naive and I didn't know what I didn't know, but I just kept plugging away and somehow I thrived enough to survive.
Well, good for you. Well, we're going to talk about your many adventures to getting where you are today because that's fascinating. But before we get there, I want to talk about you are well known for your transparency weavings. And you've stated that the loom holds the threads um, under tension while you explore ways to integrate them into a beautiful composition. I think that's a lovely way of viewing weaving. So I'm assuming that you are placing these threads in certain positions. It's not like you just throw a shuttle and you beat it. So was that something that you had to kind of learn or get used to?
Uh, yeah, well, I started as a rug weaver.
Oh, okay.
That was my first interest. And of course, there I was using a shuttle, throwing the shuttle from selvage to selvage because they're
Right.
loom controlled patterns. It was when I moved to tapestry weaving that I made the transition to hand manipulated weft, creating all those little color areas. Now in transparency weaving, I'm using both a shuttle for the ground weave, which is the very lightly woven, gauzy background, and
Mhm.
then hand manipulating the inlay for the design areas. So I guess you could say I've got the best of both worlds.
Um, your work is often about light and dark. And I was curious, is that the basis of most of your design that this kind of goes along with doing the transparency technique?
Well, I think light and dark are essentially the basis of transparency weaving because you've
Uh-huh.
got this light, gauzy background that you're weaving simultaneously with the heavier inlay that is then going to essentially block the light so that it stands out against the background. So I think you've hit it on the head there. Light and dark are pretty much the basis of transparency weaving.
Is that also part of your own personality, the whole light and dark? Do you look at world through light and dark or approach things like dark? Opposites?
Why? What have you heard? No, no, not at all. Not at all. I live by two maxims. One is variety is the spice of life,
There you go.
and the other is all things in moderation. So I'm much more tuned to nuances than to absolutes. Definitely not a black and white person.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we'll talk later about what I did here, but we won't get into that right now. Now, this first work we're going to look at is called Memory of Trees. And if the viewer looks closely, they'll see how you've used not so much light and dark, but positive and negative to kind of form the things that that the shape that you've made. And I just love it how does the light fall back and the dark comes forward, dark comes forward, the light falls back. So what attracted you to doing this kind of work?
Well, so generally in art, the subject matter is called positive space, and the background is the negative space. When we translate that into terms of transparencies, the inlay is usually the subject matter, so that would be the positive space, and the background, the gauzy background, is the negative space, something you really don't, pay that much attention to. But transparency weaving has and maybe it's a unique ability, but it has this wonderful ability to reverse that and make the subject the background part, or make the subject transparent. And so in this pair right here, I wove the same tree twice. The first one, the one that's closer to the camera, the tree is woven as inlay and the background is transparent. But on the second one, the tree is transparent and the background is the inlay. So it reverses that order, and the effect of it is that it draws the viewer in because
Mhm.
now you can see through the subject matter. So instead of looking at it, you're looking through it. And I always liken it to the difference between looking at a keyhole and looking through a keyhole.
Oh, well, that's a unique way. Well, this next image we're going to look at is another example of this because you have talked a lot about how important it is to be able to to see through and that you want the viewer to look through the artwork, not just at it. And
Mhm.
I love this image because you can see the shadow on the back. And
Yeah.
again, it's got that beautiful light and dark. Um, so did you realize how important it was? I mean, to make sure that your piece wasn't up against the wall? Like when you started being in exhibits, did you, I'm curious, did you have to fight to make sure they didn't put it up against the wall?
Well, yes, I did know from the beginning that it would be important to have at least some space behind a piece to really take advantage of that transparent effect. I I didn't fight early on to have my pieces displayed away from the wall. And so I saw many exhibits where my work was on the wall, and I was always quite disappointed. Now I provide hanging mechanisms to the
Oh,
galleries that hold the work out at least a few inches from the wall. So you can see these wonderful shadows. But there's a couple of things I have come to realize about transparencies that I didn't think of before. And one is that I've come to appreciate how fluid they are in their environment, especially if it's hanging like in a room or even in front of a window. Because you can see through it, it's not a solid barrier. And so it kind of melts into the environment. So I like that about them. And then also the shadows. I'm glad you've got this piece up because it's a great example of the importance of the shadows. The shadows
yeah.
almost become part of the weaving. So yeah, it's essential to have them hang away from a wall.
I love this piece. To me, it has so many great examples of what we've talked about already, which is the whole positive and negative um, ground. On in one it's the dark is the bird, and the next one down the light is the bird. And I love that contrast and combination. But the other thing that's really curious, I want you to talk about a little bit is the lines through this one. You've done these kind of a diamond shape line. Can you talk some about that?
Yeah, so when I started weaving transparencies, the thing that I was really drawn to was the idea of overlapping shapes so that you get a sense of depth and it looks like one is lying either in front of or behind the other. And so really what I was doing when I started this piece was merely weaving two sets of figures, the crisscross lines and the birds, and seeing how those interacted with each other. So it didn't really have like a deep meaning when I did it, but after it was off the loom and I looked at it and I said, that looks like a chain link fence. And so maybe what this piece is portraying is like a separation between, you know, humanity and nature by putting a fence between us, something to that effect. But it wasn't there from the beginning, that interpretation.
I also like how it kind of parallels the wings at that angle. It just really some kinds of reinstates or supports the piece on this one. I love this one. This is a beautiful piece. The next one we're going to look at is blue waves, and it's also placed away from the wall. Um, I love this. The color blue. I'm such an indigo fan. It's just gorgeous. And all these different um, patterns and weave textures you have in this. And, and now you dyed this piece, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And
Uh,
how did you design this? How did you know what would work on these different sections?
oh, I didn't. That's the fun of weaving.
You're
So,
so honest.
really, um, I dyed it. It's actually space dyed. I laid the warp out and dyed sections in this indigo blue color. It's not indigo dyed. It is Procyon dyes, but the color's called indigo. I did
Hmm.
this piece before I learned to dye with natural dyes, um, which I can do now, but I still haven't done much of it. Anyway, back to this piece. So I laid it out, dyed areas blue and left some areas white. And then I was able to, before I wound the warp onto the loom, I offset those a little bit to kind of get a bit of an ikat effect. I call it the faux ikat effect because it's not truly ikat. Okay. Then I also dyed some skeins of yarn to, and I did bind those to try to get an ikat effect. You know, with weft ikat, you wind a skein that's pretty much exactly the same width as the weaving, so that every time you go over and back, the white area, the area that you put the resist on, hits the same spot and you get those beautiful ikat patterns. Well, I was a little bit off in my measurements, right? So as I wove back and forth, the white area kept shifting. And that's all these two crisscross areas on here are my poorly done ikat, creating their own pattern. And I really, truly like them. So anyway, so there's those areas, and then also what you see in this piece is using the wave beater, which is a curvy beater that after you put the weft through, you put that into the warp and you push your weft in so you get a curvy line, and then you can keep adjusting the position of those of the curves to get the pattern effect that you see. In there's a section at the top, a section in the middle, and a section toward the bottom that all have the wave beater. And then then I just start weaving, and I don't really plan out. It's not like I sat down and said, okay, I'll do wave beater here, ikat here, stripes here. I just started weaving different things. And the one thing that I did do on purpose was where I used the dyed the dyed weft. I wanted to get those really bright white contrast areas, and so I made sure I wove those over areas of the warp that were white. But that's all there is to it.
So this is one weft. I mean, one warp, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's one
Wow.
warp. Hmm.
Wow. Is it all one color, the warp?
Well, like I said, it's got those areas that are white.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
So it's
Okay.
blue, then an area white, blue, white, blue, white, like that.
Yeah, I think I can see it. It's hard to see with the small and my bad eyes. Small image, bad eyes. So was this an early on piece or was this after you've been doing weaving for a while?
Oh, that's quite recent. That's quite
Okay.
recent. Yeah. That exhibit that picture's from an exhibit that just happened a month ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, I'd love to have seen it. Where was it?
It's in a town north of San Diego called Escondido. They have every year the Escondido Arts Partnership hosts what they call the West Coast textile exhibit. And so they've got a big space in the front where they host that exhibit. And then there's two smaller gallery spaces in the back that the San Diego Creative Weavers Guild for the last couple of years has taken over and had our own show there. So this was in the San Diego Creative Weavers Guild annual exhibit.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, again, I want to point out the incredible shadow behind it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so fascinating to see all the detail that comes through on that weaving.
Yeah, it does become part of the piece then, the
Yeah, it
shadow, I
does.
think.
You also do sculpted, you call it tapestry sculpting or sculpted tapestries. And obviously there's the big difference between the transparencies and this tapestry work. One's kind of lightweight and the other one's a much more solid. One hangs and the other one is sitting on a table. But what are the similarities for you? If you're looking at this, it's easy to find the things that are different, but what are the similarities between your tapestries and these, your transparencies and these, I mean?
Yeah, so I started weaving seed beads into my tapestries because I realized I'm drawn to shiny objects, and I really liked the contrast of the reflective beads against the yarn. But then pretty soon I also realized that many of the seed beads are transparent. They're a transparent glass. They're colored, but they're transparent, so the light shines through them. Um, and I thought, well, I need to take advantage of that. And so I came up with a way to make my tapestries freestanding so that the light could shine through them and then take advantage of the transparency of the beads. So um, the same principle applies to transparencies. Basically, you're weaving a very light background to allow the light to shine through, and that light shining through enhances the design. So I guess you could say that the common thread between them is incorporating light as a part of the design.
So looking at this piece, like the one on the left, and again, I want to make sure I'm seeing this right because I don't have it here in front of me. I'm just looking at this photograph. So everything that we're looking at is glass beads, or is there
No,
some fiber in there?
yes, the
Okay.
purples along the bottom are all yarn.
Okay.
The strands running up through it are yarn,
Okay.
and along the very top edge is yarn. But most of the rest of this piece is beads.
That is a lot of work.
Well,
How do you get the three-dimensional part of it? Is that just because of the beads? Does it give it the ability to stand up alone?
no, no, definitely not.
Okay.
Um, there's a wire woven in along the selvage. There's a
Okay.
wire along each selvage, and then going up through the piece, and that's really why those strands are going up, vertically from one edge to the other. Those are hiding some wires that I put in, and then it's just enough wire to give it some support and let it stand up by itself.
Now I know somebody's going to ask this, so I'm going to go ahead and do it now. What is this woven on? Is it a floor loom, a bead loom?
I have woven them on my, upright tapestry looms, my Murex looms, um, and I have woven them on a table loom and a floor loom. So anything.
Wow, how versatile.
Yes.
What did you start with? The first time you started doing this, what were you weaving on?
Murex tapestry loom.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I know somebody's going to ask, what is the size of this?
And they're woven from the side. So that's how I get the vertical shapes is I actually wove it from the side and then
Okay.
turned it to stand it up.
Oh, okay.
So the bottom and the top are the side selvages. That's where the wires are. And what was your question?
How big? What's the size? Somebody's going to ask that. What is the size?
Oh, well, this piece is probably about 10 inches high. And before it's, shaped, maybe 13 inches long of weaving. And then it's shaped to be a little bit. Well, I think that's a little off. Maybe it was more like 15 inches because it does show up as wider than it is high here. So, yeah, something like that.
And I'm always curious when you have this kind of detail and repetition and pattern, did you have this like drawn out ahead of time? You knew exactly what was going to be where, or was there more kind of going as you wove? How do you design?
This was very free flowing without a design. I would get an idea, like the colors. I would choose the
Uh-huh.
colors. I would lay out, maybe 20 different yarns and 20 different bead colors that I thought would all work together. And then I would start weaving with them. And through the weeding process, I would find out what was working for me and what wasn't. By the time I got to the halfway point, I knew I wasn't going to introduce anything new. It would have looked off center. So got rid of all the yarns and beads I wasn't using and just continued with the ones that I was. But as far as the shapes, this is eccentric weft. So I'm just making sure I get a lot of nice undulation in the line that the weft is following and just, go from there, make it up as I go.
Oh, and the same thing on the one on the right. I keep looking at the one on the left, but same
Yeah.
thing on the one on the right.
Yeah. Now, the one on the right is one of my most recent pieces in this technique, and the one on the left is like the second one I ever did. So you can see some distinct differences. One is that I cut back on the number of beads by quite a bit. I guess I got lazy, but
Smart.
I like the strong contrast in the colors on the one on the right.
Hmm.
Very effective. Yeah.
It
So
is.
mm.
And it's about the same size also?
It's a little taller.
Okay.
I think I made that one about 14 inches tall.
Okay. Um, the one thing that always strikes me about your work is the balance that you have. Not that it's asymmetrical, but it's balanced. And looking at these, you actually have balance, so it doesn't topple over. But visually, it's so balanced. And like
Mhm.
um, the ones we're going to look at is one is light source and the other is past tense. Unless that's this, is that this one? No, here they are. So they're two different works. One is the tapestry and one is the transparency, but they both have this beautiful balance to them. And especially the transparency, it's not the exact same on either side, but they work so well together. So is balance and something that you consciously think about and choose, or does it just happen to you like instinct?
Um, I think about it constantly because it is one of the fundamental principles of design, and it helps your eye to, you know, look at the piece and not get overwhelmed, find a place to rest. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, I'm always thinking about balance when I'm designing and weaving. Just like I just said for the sculptural tapestries, once I got to the midway point, I wasn't going to introduce anything new because I knew it was going to be, displayed horizontally, and I didn't want one side to not be the same as the other side. So yeah, yeah. Did I answer the full question?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
I'm trying to look at it sideways. Well, what about in your own life? Does your work reflect your life? Do you think about balance in your own life?
Well, yeah, I do. I do. Everybody wants balance in their life, right? Um, but and you remember one of my maxims is all things in moderation. So I eat a balanced diet. I try to balance the sedentary activity of weaving with more active pursuits like
Oh,
gardening, so that I'm, not spending all my day sitting. I'm getting out and doing something active. It's one reason why I've never accepted invitations to learn to play bridge because I don't want to sit any more than I already do. But I'd say the hardest place to find balance with this kind of lifestyle is between spending time alone versus spending time with other people because both
oh.
weaving and gardening are solitary pursuits. And I'm an introvert. I'm happiest at home working on my own things and not going out of the house, not interacting with other people at all. So um, I think that might be why I enjoy teaching because I get out there, I'm among people. I do like people, even though I'm an introvert. And I'm in my comfort zone talking about weaving. So that's a perfect place for me to get balance.
So you teach a lot?
I have been since I started doing the transparency weaving. Um, as a tapestry weaver, I taught a bit, but I would say now it's much more because um, there's really nobody out there offering transparency weaving. It kind of had its heyday in the 90s, and then people lost interest, I guess, and now I'm putting it out there and offering classes, and I'm getting calls.
And I'm sure you're going to get more. Now that people have seen this, they're going to be curious to see how do you do that?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
This next one is called Cosmic Dance, and you said it. The inspiration of it was Carl Sagan's statement that the Earth is a small blue planet, kind of a tiny orbit in the vast universe. And I'm assuming that ball is Earth in there. Um, and I've heard, as I read about you and looked at your work, you often refer to what the meaning is to some of your work. So it seems like your work is very connected to a theme or something personal for you or symbolism. Is that true?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
I don't usually begin with a theme.
Ah,
The theme kind of emerges. I really approach weaving from the point of view of the materials and what I can do with them. What's the effect that I want to create? And so there's kind of a conversation that goes on between me and the materials. And I like to think that the materials kind of work through me to create something that I couldn't have imagined beforehand.
oh,
There's there's a quote by Annie Albers that I end my lectures with. She said, "Things take shape in material and in the process of working it, and no imagination is great enough to know before the works are done what they will be like." And that really
Wow.
resonates with me. But
Yeah.
often, yeah, but often a theme emerges during the weaving or even after the piece is off the loom when I get a chance to look at it. This one, for instance, I knew what I wanted to do in this piece was work again on this idea of overlapping shapes, overlapping colors, and using different weave patterns. So, because those colored areas are all slightly different weave patterns, plain weave, skip in a row. I can't remember what else I used. Um, so I was approaching it from the point of view of what the visual effect would be. I was working on building density and also color interactions. Now, as I was weaving it, I began to see more and more that the shapes look like orbital paths crisscrossing in
Mm.
space, going around the two, or the sort of half circles on the side, which could be seen as stars or suns. And so it really started to look like a cosmic weaving to me. And by the time I got up to the top to the blue dot, I was definitely thinking about Carl Sagan and his statement about the Earth is just a small blue dot. But it wasn't really until the piece was off the loom and I looked at it and I saw that it actually looks like a dancing figure. And so I kind of put the two ideas together and called it cosmic dance. So that's the story behind that one.
Well, what strikes me about this piece is one is the colors. I love the colors. Um, and they surprised me because if somebody said, well, I'm going to put this green with this lavender, I know all of you who know color would say, of course that works. I probably would have said, no, no. And it works so beautifully. And I see that through all your works is that you just embrace the colors and they work so well. But the other thing that you said is the energy in this, it's just that motion throughout the piece. So are those, which do you think are more important for you in your work? That energy force or the color?
Oh, well, that's an interesting question. The energy force or the color?
Or am
Um,
I asking you to pick your favorite child?
well, I think you can get energy without necessarily doing it through color. Like
Mm,
these are kind of cool colors. I mean,
hmm.
cool on the color spectrum, and it's usually warm colors that convey energy more. But I think you can get a lot of energy from the shapes and the placement of the shapes. And so that's what you're seeing here. That kind of zoom pattern. This is a comet or something zooming through space. You can feel that in this piece. So I pay attention to that in my designing. I look at things like repetition because you can get energy and sense of movement through repetition,
Hmm.
and also through color gradations. If you move from a dark to a light, it looks like something's moving, something's changing. So you can create energy through design elements, definitely.
And I love how the colors change when they overlap. Um, it just works so beautifully. Now, is that the transparency part of it? Is that they change like that?
Oh no, you'll get that in any weaving where you cross two different colors. They'll play off of each other and give you a different color. In transparency weaving, that effect is actually kind of muted because you've got the ground weft, which in this case is the tan color, weaving between each row, and so that kind of mutes the effect of the color interactions. But yeah, it's not that's not just due to transparency.
Well, I understand. Somebody's already asking about this. I understand you're writing a book. Tell us about that.
Oh yes, I've actually written it.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just it's in the publication process now. It's titled Transparency Weaving, and it's going to be published by Schiffer Craft, and it's going to be released in August, just in time for Convergence next year in New Orleans. Yeah, isn't that exciting? So in the book, I teach the entire process of weaving transparencies from the best way to warp your loom to designing for transparencies and then how to weave all these different effects. Everything we've talked about in this talk today is included in the book. Plus, there's projects that will walk you through the steps of learning to create some of those effects.
Well, I know there are people going to roll their eyes because I always ask this, but it just floors me when somebody writes a book. Why? It's so much work. Why write a book? Why did you decide I'm going to write a book?
Well, the last book written and published about transparency weaving came out in 1990. It was written
Wow.
by Dora Keesby.
Yeah.
It was called Sheer Delight, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners are familiar with it. It's no longer in print, hasn't been in print for a long time, so it's hard to find. It's the only source out there for learning how to weave transparencies from a book. So I thought, well, it's time for another one. And I've got the knowledge because I've been doing this for 7 years now. And so I wrote the book.
So it will be out in August. Will they be able to, people be able to buy it at Convergence? Will it be like
Yes.
printed in there physically?
Yes, that will
Good.
be.
Oh, good.
And Schiffer Craft has a booth there, and we will have the book in the booth, and I'll be signing copies.
We love you, Schiffer. You're our source of good art books.
Aren't they great? Yeah.
They're great. So I'm so glad. I'm excited. You're right. I took a transparency class and we were all like, what's the resource? And that's what everybody said is that you may see
Yeah.
an article here and there, but there's only the one book until now. And you all heard it here first, here at
Yeah.
Textiles
Heard
and
it here
Tea.
first.
So, someone like you who's had this amazing journey in your life, you've done so many different things. You've kind of thought outside the box on some of your techniques. So, if you could go back and talk to this young Rebecca who's just getting started, what would you say to her?
Well, it's funny because I had no art background. I had not ever taken an art course.
Really, nothing?
Nothing. And I was suddenly impassioned to make weaving the center of my life. I don't know where that came from. Like I
Thank
said,
you, Webs. Again, thank you, Webs,
yeah,
wherever you are.
I was so naive. I didn't know what I didn't know. But, I just started putting the pieces together and growing my knowledge and building my experience and eventually ended up here. So, I think I would tell my younger self to, first of all, always, always remember what your mama told you, that you can do anything you set your mind to. I didn't call her mama, but that sounds better when I say it that way. Um, but also, I would tell her that there is an artist inside of you. You just have to find her. I was doing art shows, selling my work at art shows, and not really thinking of myself as an artist until one day I realized I was wearing a name tag around my neck that said artist on it. And I looked at that and I said, oh, I guess I
I'm an
am.
artist.
So yeah, I tell myself, just believe that there is an artist in there.
That's so funny. It's so difficult. And we've talked about this so many times on the show, but it is so difficult for artists to think of themselves as artists. And I think, especially fiber artists, I think it's real hard for us to go, yeah, I'm an artist.
Hmm.
People are kind of like, no, 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 no. I just like doing crafts or whatever.
I think so too.
That's a huge kind of jump over. So good for you. Good for you. So other than the book, what's next for you?
Well, I think perhaps a lot more teaching. I am committed to sharing this technique and getting the word out there because the results are so beautiful and it really is an easy entree into decorative weaving. So for anybody who ever wanted to weave something and hang it up on your wall, this is an easy way to get there. I'm offering 3 classes at Convergence next August, so I hope those will fill and I'll be able to teach there. I have some other teaching engagements already lined up for next year, so I think it's going to be busy with teaching. And of course, I'll continue to explore new ideas for my weaving as they come up. But I don't think I'm going to work my way away from transparency weaving. I think I'm there to stay.
Good for us. Yeah, I'm excited to see what you're going to be doing at Convergence. I'm excited that you've got classes there. That'll be great.
Thanks.
Well, we have questions.
Ooh.
So let's get to some of those. Some of these have already been answered, but let's get to some of these. Um, oh, this is a great question. Thank you, Mary. What are some of the various materials that you use for the transparencies? Are there certain ones that work better than others? You can make anything work.
Yeah, it's very specific for the warp and the ground weft that you use linen. And the reason for
Oh,
that
okay.
is that linen is a bit stiff. So it's when you like it's 16/1 using 16/1 linen set at 15 inches per inch, and then you want to weave it very lightly to leave those little open spaces. You don't want it to easily close up on itself. And linen tends to do that quite naturally. It says, oh, that's far enough. I don't want to weave any closer than I am to my neighbor, the weft neighboring me. And so, if you tried to do that with cotton, your rows would close up and you wouldn't have that nice grid-like background. So yeah, linen is a definite for the warp and the ground weft. But other than that, you can. Um, I just saw a note from somebody from Christine Williamson, who was in my class at Convergence last year, that she's used Cottolin. So, and that they've been successful. So I want to say you can use Cottolin too. I haven't
What
tried it,
about,
but
I don't
Christine
know
has.
much about it, but what about hemp? Because some people say it has the feeling of linen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert on what hemp is, but
Yeah,
I think it's very, very similar to linen.
yeah.
So yeah, I suppose you could use that too. Something coarse that's not going to, want to close up between the rows. It's going to leave some nice openings for you. And then for the inlay, you can use really anything. You can
Mm.
use, wool, silk, more linen, um, you know, anything you want, because the ground weft is going to do the job of holding it in place.
Huh. Okay. Ramona Abernathy Payne wants to know, in blue waves in the area of the wave beater, is the weft one color or blue and white alternating?
I believe the weft. Oh, yeah, the
Yes,
weft is
weft.
alternating. Those are the air. Oh, with the wave beater. Think back. That was all white, white weft.
Oh, okay.
All
All right.
white.
Um, Liz wants,
Um,
go ahead.
in one section of it, though, I did alternate a white with a blue, a white with a blue. So if that's what you're asking about, there is one area in it where there's two colors.
And wave beater is the one that's hanging up, the blue one
hmm
that we looked at. Mandy, can
hmm
we pull that back up? I think it was, there we go. She's so good. There we go. All right. So probably that third section down has both blue
Near
and
the
white weft, right?
near the top,
Uh-huh.
between the two dark blue stripes,
Right.
that's the wave beater,
Oh, right. Wave beater. Okay.
and it's all done with
Oh,
white
okay.
weft. Okay.
Wow. I want to see this in person.
The next section down that's between two dark blue lines,
Uh-huh.
stripes, that's also the wave beater, but that's where I alternated white with blue.
Okay.
And then the
Oh,
third
that's good.
section down, almost toward the bottom, is all white again.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Liz Adams wants to know the space between the artwork and the wall is activated by the shadows cast. So is it a specific distance when you're hanging it? Do you think, oh yeah, 6 inches doesn't work, but 2 feet's too big or
Well, if you're too far away, the shadows are going to be, disrupted by other light, so you're not going to see them as well. This is hanging about maybe 5 inches out. And that seems good because you can see it without having to, get up against the wall. At 3 inches,
Mm,
I've tried 3 inches and you have to almost get in there and look behind it to see the shadows. So I'd say 5 to 6 inches is your sweet spot.
there you go. There you go. Liz, good question. You're always thinking, Liz, always thinking. Um, how are your standing trans tapestries supported? Well, we talked about the wire in two of them, right? Is that how most of
They all
them?
have wire in them.
Okay.
All the standing tapestries have wire in them. That's how they stand up.
This one we've already answered. Um, oh, this is from Sandra. She wants to know, are the beads on the warp or the weft?
They are on neither one. They are woven in the traditional bead weaving manner where you use a beading thread and needle and you tie that beading thread on and then pass the beads behind the warp and push them up between the openings in the warp and then go back through with your needle on the top of the warp. So you've sandwiched the warp with two rows of beading thread, and that's what holds the beads in place.
Huh. Well, I've never done beading, I can tell. That sounds interesting. I hope that answers your question. Um, this may be more of the same. Do you sculpt seed bead tapestries have some type of armature? We've already answered that.
Yeah.
Um, do you ever teach workshops in this technique? Are you doing any more of the tapestry or are you just doing transparencies now?
Yeah, I'm still doing the tapestries when I'm asked.
There you go.
I'm going to be teaching it up at Santa Cruz Guild, right after CNCH, right after the Conference of Northern California Handweavers. I'll be up
Okay.
there, and I'm really into the transparencies now, but I don't want to, leave anything out if somebody's interested in that. And I get a call saying, "Would you come and teach it?" I'll probably say yes. I have a history of saying yes.
That's so wonderful. I mean, most people, me included, I'm not really, really good at any kind of weaving technique. And you have two that you could easily teach anywhere. Um, which reminds me, Jennifer Cole says Rebecca is a wonderful teacher.
Oh,
So there
thank
you
you.
go.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Um, oh, so this is a great question. Thank you, Ursula. Can you talk about your weaving with Archie Brennan?
Well, I wasn't with him a lot. I know there's people who were lucky enough to live closer to him in New York and studied with him, for years. But
Uh-huh.
I was lucky enough to take about three workshops, I think it was in total. I went up to, there used to be a fiber fiesta up on Whidbey Island in the fall. And one of my tapestry friends in San Diego said, "You've got to go up there and study with Archie Brennan." I knew nothing about it at the time. That was the beginning of my tapestry weaving. So I went up there and it was two back-to-back workshops. And then later, maybe that year or the next year, we had Archie come to San Diego and teach a workshop. So that was it really. But you know what? I learned the basics of how to weave the shapes that you want to weave in tapestry. And his instruction was so good that, it was enough to get me going. And, you know, I value it. I value my time spent in those workshops.
I bet. I bet. Um, Rama says, excited for the book. I think a lot of people are. Because I saw in the chat, some people don't, even before you start talking about the book, somebody had said, you need to write a book.
Beat you to
That's right.
it.
This is from Liz again. Rebecca, when you say you've ended up here, nah, you have many more adventures ahead, don't you? You're wonderful.
Oh,
You
thank
got a
you.
fan. Um,
You
let's see. So many of you've already answered these. Sorry, well, I apologize for taking some time. This is pretty good. I don't think we've talked about this. This is from Lisa Schweitzer. You've shifted directions a couple of times. What is the sign or signal in your creative life that prompted you to pivot? Good question, Lisa.
I just always like to follow my inspiration, I guess you could say. Um, where I start thinking about something. Maybe I see something on the internet and it gives me some ideas, and I go, I wonder what would happen if I did this. And I just I start pursuing it. It's almost uncontrollable. I mean, takes me out of my comfort zone, that's for sure. Um, oh, you know what? Let me quote this to you. I just was in Tampa, Florida over Thanksgiving, and I was in, there's a wonderful gallery in St. Petersburg called Florida Craft Art. And we went in there, and they had some little inspirational magnets. And one of them spoke to me, and it says, if you tell life what you want it to be, that's what it will be. But if you let life decide what it's going to be, then it will open up all new doors. It's something to that effect.
Oh, I love
Not
that.
really those words, but to
Yeah,
that
yeah,
effect.
yeah.
And I truly believe that in my weaving because it's very a lot of it, especially the sculptural tapestries, were very spontaneous without a lot of planning. And now the transparencies I'm doing with more of the ecod and wave beater techniques, or you know, pretty spontaneous as I'm weaving them. So I do like to think that I'm open to that, to hearing something that's not coming from me, but coming from inspiration out there, and if not exactly guiding me, at least opening doors for new directions that I can go.
This is from Beth. Hey, Beth. I guess you don't finish your transparency weaving by washing to keep the fibers from closing up.
No, they're pretty delicate, so I just lay them out. And this is the way I always did my tapestries too. Lay them out, cover them with wet towels. Um,
Oh,
Sometimes, with tapestries, especially because they're so thick, I would steam them with a hot iron. But I find with the transparencies, if I just lay the wet towels over them and let them sit for 24 hours, they soak up all that moisture. And that eases all the yarns and makes them hang a little nicer.
so there is some wet finishing involved.
Yeah, damp, I call it damp finishing.
Damp finishing. There you go.
Damp finishing. Yeah.
Um, let's see. Oh, Lisa wants to know what was your academic background?
Well, I was an excellent student, straight A student, and I enjoyed school. And the problem was I didn't know what else I wanted to do. So I stayed in school until I had a PhD. My
Did you
PhD
really?
was,
You got a PhD.
yes,
Oh
in
my
urban
goodness.
geography. So that was my training. And I was at the University of Massachusetts teaching urban geography when I learned to weave. And that's the career I gave up for weaving.
Well, too bad for urban geography, but yay
Yeah,
props.
I'm sure they don't miss me.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. What opened that door for you?
Which
Yeah,
door?
the geography. Why? I know nothing about it, so it's why I'm
Oh,
asking
yeah.
this.
No,
I don't
I
know what
was
it is.
I was interested as an undergraduate. I was a psychology major, and I was interested in how people perceive and interact with their environment. And that was
Oh,
a
okay.
field that was just coming into psychology. But in geography, there was this wonderful professor at the University of Minnesota named Yifu Tuan, and that was his field. And I thought, I'm going to go there and I'm going to study with him, and I'm going to study all about that. Well, unfortunately, he was on sabbatical the year that I showed up, and so I veered off into something more statistical. Um, and I did eventually end up writing my thesis on sort of on how people relate to their environment, it was an urban neighborhood. So I brought together the urban geography and the sense of place type geography. But that's how I got into it.
Well, this might be a stretch, but your work is also very involved with its environment. I mean, because you don't just slap it up on a wall. It has to be in a certain place in its environment. So you've kind of
Hmm.
carried that over from your training, your teaching, your I told you it was a stretch, whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
um, somebody wants to know, do you do Theo Mormon?
No, I mean I have, but the distinction is, and uh, I include this when I give presentations. because a lot of people think it's the same thing, but the Theo
Right.
Mormon technique is an inlay technique, but it's on a different threading, and her threading was designed to let the inlay sit on top of the background cloth and not have the color interfered with at all. That was her goal,
Oh,
to
right.
make those inlay areas as bold as they could be. And so typically her work was not transparent, although you could kind of see through it if it was hanging in the middle of a room, but it wasn't her intention to make it a two-sided design. Whereas in transparency, everything you see on the front, you see on the back. If you're using a plain weave or a balanced weave for your inlay.
Good question from both Suzanne and Colleen. Thank you guys so much. Um, we have to stop. I can't believe that. This time has flown by.
Well, it's been fun.
It has. You are a wealth of knowledge, and I cannot wait to see your book. I'm so excited. And I hope I can get a copy and get you to sign it at Convergence. So y'all
Absolutely.
line up, get out there and get that book so you can get her to sign it. So check that out. And also go to her website and look at all her work. It's just beautiful. And you'll be so excited about what she's doing. And then you'll immediately go sign up for her class because you're going to want to have to do that too, right? So thank you so much for being on here today, Rebecca. It has been a delight to have you here.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much.
We wanted to thank our sponsor too. Elizabeth, good job. This was a great program. Elizabeth Michael, thank you so much for being a sponsor of Textiles and Tea. We do appreciate it. You're one of our Textiles and Tea angels. If you're interested in sponsoring an episode, yourself or your guild or your business, or if you have an event coming up and you want to, us to announce it, we can do that. So check this out. Go on the website, weavespendie.org. You can sign up for a date. If you have questions, you can contact the office. We'll be glad to help you with that. So thank you again, Elizabeth. We really do appreciate that. We have some classes this summer, and Rebecca will be teaching one of them. We're going to be in New Orleans, August the 12th through the 16th, and there are tons of classes. But be sure you check out Rebecca's. What a wonderful way to learn how to do transparency from someone who knows it so well as she does. There's 139 classes to choose from. Registration is now open. You can start registering for the classes that you want. The other thing, you take a minute and check out the session spotlights. It's a great way to learn more about a class, whether or not this is a class you want. Are you going to be a good fit for this class? Great way to spend a little bit of time before you register. They're all online. They've all been recorded, and you can see all the teachers and learn everything about them and their class. Big help when you get ready to register. Don't forget to sign up for the hotel before it fills up. You want to be in the building. Everything's in one building in New Orleans, so that'll be nice. So check that out. The newest thing with HGA, and this is so much fun, is that this company called Redbubble. We gave them our logos and they produce these products. Aren't they wonderful? You have a pillow, you can get a mug, you can get socks. I love these with our Textiles and Tea collection. You can get it now at the HGA shop, which is online, but it's from a company called Redbubble. There's notebooks. I love the notebook. I would take that to Convergence with me and have all my notes in it. But I want one that says Textile and Tea and me. I like that one. So check those out if you're interested in purchasing something. All my diehard Textiles and Tea fans, I hope you'll check that out. It's just kind of a fun thing to do, and we appreciate you checking that out. We want to thank everybody for their donations, especially today. Today's Giving Tuesday, and some of you have probably already gotten phone calls because we call everybody and say thank you. We're not calling asking for donations like everybody else is doing. We're calling to say thank you. It was always a fun thing to do. You get to talk to people and meet the folks who've donated, and we want to tell you how much we appreciate because those donations make things happen. Whether it's another program, something with Textiles and Tea, Spin and Weaving Week, those all happen because of your generous donations, and we appreciate it. So if you get a phone call today from HGA, it's just us saying thanks. We appreciate it. Um, If you missed any of the episodes, you can go back and watch them again. You can watch them on Facebook for 30 days. If it's an episode that was longer, past 30 days, you'll have to go to YouTube. If you like watching on YouTube, you should register, subscribe, I mean, because when you do, then you'll get a notice the next time a new episode is uploaded. So check those out if you want to watch those again. Next week, we're going to have Elaine Silberlicht. I think I'm pronouncing her name right. And she's going to talk with us. Y'all have a wonderful week. So glad you were here today. What a great episode. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you next week. Happy tea.